The title of my social issue is Keeping Hawaiʻi Hawaiian. My subtitle is The Importance of Culture Preservation Within the Hawaiian Islands. First and foremost, what is culture? Culture is defined as social behavior, a way of life, knowledge and wisdom, customs and beliefs, arts, and norms. Now, why is culture preservation important? Well, according to the U.S. Embassy, cultural heritage is central to protecting our sense of who we are. It gives us an irrefutable connection to the past, to certain social values, beliefs, customs, and traditions that allows us to identify ourselves with others and deepen our sense of unity, belonging, and national pride. My hypothesis to resolve this social issue is if we as a society use our voices to speak on this injustice and act in harmony as a community to bring about change, then change will occur. The following slides contain peace terminologies that correspond with my social issue. Today, digital activism are spread throughout social media outlets and can easily reach large audiences. An example of this is on Twitter. Mark Kenyela is an American politician and a previous member of Hawaii's House of Representatives. He brings awareness to the fact that Hawaii's government cares less about their citizens and more about tending the tourists. Because this is a water shortage, it jeopardizes our basic human needs, and human security can be addressed. Sadly, Hawaii is not the multiracial paradise some say it is. The islands still struggle with the legacy of colonialism and divisions intentionally sown between ethnic groups. Since the beginning of plantation slavery, plantation owners separated ethnic groups, paying them wages based on their ethnic, awarding white people higher pay and positions. This created tension among ethnic groups. These racial inequalities are still persistent today. Taking a look at the chart, white privilege and the racial pay gap has worsened since 2000. The significance of this social issue looking at a personal perspective, becoming a successful Native Hawaiian living in the 21st century is important to me because my kuleana to my culture and people is to educate. It is important to teach people from all walks of life about the Hawaiian culture, the values we possess, and why it's important to nurture nature, especially because of the cultural oppression we have suffered from on a social aspect. When looking at the preservation of Hawaiian culture in a social perspective, many factors arise, including gentrification, lack of government resources, and a lack of infrastructure, aiding in Hawaiian preservation among lands and people. For my methodology, I conducted an ethnographic research study through personal observations and interviews with my community organization, Liliʻuokalani Trust, and a program partner, Hale Kipa. Enjoy the following interviews.
My name is Kimo Carvalho. I am the Executive Director of Liliʻuokalani Trust's Opportunity Youth Services Center, otherwise known as Lydia's House. And Trust is 112 years old. We were founded in 1909 by our last reigning monarch, Queen Liliʻuokalani, who gave all her possessions, sold it, and invested all that money into a perpetual trust, and that trust directly benefits orphan and destitute children who are vulnerable and in crisis. And so for the last 112 years, we have continued to serve our Hawaiian children by giving them every opportunity to thrive. Because of injustice, it's caused cultural trauma, and that cultural trauma has actually resulted in Native Hawaiians being overrepresented in state systems, mainly including homelessness, juvenile justice, public safety, health and human services. So these injustices have resulted in Native Hawaiians really being, reinforced in generational poverty. And that's, our trust is committed to really breaking generational poverty and really reversing these trends so that future generations thrive.
Thank you so much, Kimo. Can you tell me a little bit about Lydia's House and why it opened up?
Yeah. So Lydia's House is our trust's first major investment in a transitional youth residential facility. So when we purchased a facility known as Lydia's House, where we can directly intervene and provide them with the stabilization and wraparound supports to actually stabilize them and actually put them onto future paths to thrive as adults. We decided to open and started our operations during the COVID-19 response because our Native Hawaiian transitional age youth, of course, were the first to get fired and the last to get rehired amidst a global pandemic. So we decided, we would open early. We served 46 individuals during that 1 year time period. Every single one of them has since transitioned into permanent housing. Every single one of them are on new pathways, new futures where, it's showing a lot of promise.
Aloha, I'm Jackie Kelly-Yoka, Hale Kipa Deputy CEO. Our agency mission is to provide opportunities and environments that strengthen youth to actualize their potential, and we do this through a range of programming, including independent living, transitional living, emergency shelter, foster care, and others. Due to our shared aspirations and approaches with Liliʻuokalani Trust, we were very excited to be selected by them in spring of 2020 to become their anchor partner. We immediately moved into action to develop Lydia's House, a residential response for young Hawaiians impacted by the COVID pandemic. Young people living in Hawaii are affected by familial abuse, poverty, incarceration, substance abuse, and disconnections from community. Native Hawaiian youth have historically been overrepresented by higher rates of teen pregnancies, homelessness, arrest and time in foster care. This is changing but continues to need attention. Young Hawaiian males and females who understand their ancestral knowledge and lineage have pilina, know their kulana, practice Hawaiian values, and pono actions are more spiritually grounded. They take care of their ohana, their aina, and their community, and it's very powerful. Aloha.
On a micro scale of analysis, we will be looking at problems that have taken place on Oahu, beginning with the illegal invasion and overthrow of the Hawaiian monarch during Queen Liliʻuokalani's reign in 1893. Not long after, in 1898, the Hawaiian Islands were illegally annexed by the United States of America. Kanaka Maoli opposed heavily of this and summoned a petition protesting the annexation. They feared the annexation would open the door for more foreigners to come, take their jobs, resources, and push them out of their homes. Viewing the state of Hawaii on a mesoscale of analysis, in 2019, over 10 million tourists visited Hawaii. These overwhelming numbers have led to cultural loss, high economic costs, and environmental deterioration. Analyze these graphs of the Hawaiian Islands and how human arrival has severely depleted the land. Lastly, on a macro scale of analysis, all across Oceania, natives undergo similar tribulations. The land is the heart of cultural identity for islanders, and population growth, tourism development, and militarization threaten their relationship with the land, exacerbating their cultural identity. To conclude, in order for cultural revitalization to come about, these are some possible solutions I've come up with. By incorporating sustainable horticulture on the islands of Hawaii, we'll be reincorporating traditional knowledge in modern times and fighting climate change. For Native Hawaiians to feel whole again, they need access to education in their language, culture, and cultural history, because they interrelate with one another as a people, bringing inner and outer peace. And lastly, spreading awareness about these social issues and community organizations that are here to assist with these cultural traumas. Thank you. E kupa'a e onipa'a e kulanikila. Ai he Hawaii. Be loyal, be steadfast, stand victorious. Yes, I am Hawaiian.